Ray Miller, right now.
Topeka's only sports talk show. The biggest stories, the best conversations, and the sports talk you won't find anywhere else. 580 Sports Talk with Dan Lucero and Spencer Dupuis starts now.
Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk is live and direct on a Wednesday. Happy Hump Day, one and all. Thanks for being here. We're hanging out for the next 3 hours on the sports voice of Kansas. 580 WIBW FM 104.9. Online at 580WIBW.com. On your mobile device, on the MSC radio app, and on YouTube on our channel 580 Sports Talk. However, wherever, whenever you're tuning into the program today, thank you so much for being a part of 580 Sports Talk. My name is Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuis here already. I'm as surprised as you, but we are here with you for the next 3 hours. We'll hand it off at 6 o'clock to the Royals Radio Network. The Royals and the A's, Game 2 of their 4-game series. Game 1 went decisively to the Royals last night, a 9-5 final score. Pretty good restart for the A lineup, if you will. Not the A's lineup, but the Royals A lineup. And we'll get more into that later on in the program. Daniel Lynch goes for the Royals in Game 2 of the 4-game series tonight against a gentleman who I do not readily know his first name. We have to click on his profile page at MLB.com. Jack Perkins. It is Jack Perkins. Real guy, right-handed pitcher. 7.27 ERA. It is bad when your ERA is a Boeing airplane. That's generally not what you want, although, of course, we know the trend line on this show. When I take a run at an opposing player, generally speaking, they do pretty well against the Royals. That's pitching matchup tonight, Perkins versus Lynch. Pre-game at 6, first pitch 6:40. We got you covered right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. In the intervening 3 hours, plenty to discuss, lots of Chiefs to get into on this Wednesday afternoon. We've played a preseason game. We're almost to the end of camp. I said Wednesday. It's Tuesday. I wound up and said happy hump day and everything, and I'm not looking at the chat right now. And if, Christopher, you're in the chat and you left me taco emojis to remind me that it's Tuesday.
He did.
Yeah, that's what
before the show even started.
I'm real discombobulated, and Spencer, frankly, it is entirely your fault. I'm kidding.
Sorry,
it's not entirely your fault.
Sorry, things worked out the way I was on the show.
I'm totally discombobulated. It's Tuesday, everybody. I almost want to make you play the intro and start again. It's a Tuesday on 580 Sports Talk. Michael Swain's on the show. That would have tipped me off eventually. I would have made it all the way to the bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. Michael Swain. That's how I know it's a Tuesday. But it remains true that we are in the final week of training camp. Training camp breaks on Thursday, and after that, the Chiefs have 2 preseason games left. And I thought it would be a good time, as time runs out on training camp, to reevaluate where the 53-man roster stands and who looks like they are going to make it as of right now. We've got some 53-man roster predictions, not just who's on it, but who is firmly on the bubble with 2 preseason games and 2 days of camp left to go. Speaking of camp, Eric Bieniemy spoke at camp today. First time that we've heard from EB since the awful incident before really the training camp got started in earnest, where Eric's wife, Mia, was shot allegedly by the couple's son. And she continues to recover and is doing well. And apparently, by her blessing, Eric Bieniemy is back with the Chiefs and running the show as the offensive coordinator. And we got to hear from EB a little bit, talked obviously about what's been going on in his personal life, but also plenty of insight into what he's seeing with the Chiefs offense. So we'll hear from Eric Bieniemy. We'll also hear from Jeffrey Bassa, the second-year linebacker out of Oregon. We'll get to some of that audio later on in the program. Also, The NFL Top 100. I promised myself 2 years ago I wasn't going to look at it anymore. Something happened 2 years ago on the NFL Top 100, and that something was Tyreek Hill was voted the number one player in the National Football League after the 2023 season going into the 2024 season, which was patently insane. And I said, all right, that's the last time I ever pay any attention to that ever in life. And I had adhered to that. I didn't look at it last year. I had not paid it any mind this year. It used to be something we'd bring up. Easy segment. Back in the 4-hour days of the show, when you needed a few layups, every now and again, it was nice to have the layup of, oh, this Chiefs player got ranked in the top 100. Let's talk about it.
I think it was also nice in the before training camp time when it used to be in the middle of summer, and now they pushed it all the way through preseason.
Yeah, it's part of the preseason now. But anyway, I had done a really nice job. I was proud of resolutely ignoring the NFL Top 100. And then they ranked Patrick Mahomes the 18th best player in the NFL. And must be 2 NFLs or must be 2 Patrick Mahomeses. I am at a loss. One of the things one of my longest and most firmly held beliefs has been challenged. And I'll explain what I mean a little bit later on in the show. We'll get to some Royals as well. Like I mentioned, they won last night 9-5, and kind of nice to see everybody in one piece in the starting lineup. And yeah, granted, it was the A's, who are one of the worst teams in baseball. The A's have they've kind of sunk into that, boy, at least we're not them. I think they are that team this year, even though there are teams, well, I don't think there are many teams with worse records. Did the Angels play last night? No, the Angels and the A's have the same record. And the Rockies only have one more win. But between the injuries and the long losing skid they've been on and just the awful pitching, the A's are that, well, hey, we got it better than those guys at least, team in baseball right now, right this second. And even accounting for that, it was sure fun to watch the Royals starting lineup in place and delivering early and often in that 9-5 win last night. Royals also made a roster move today that we'll discuss. Carlos Duran has been called up to make his major league not his major league debut, but his Royals debut. Lucas Erceg optioned down to AAA Omaha. It was time, and not from a performance standpoint either, because from a performance standpoint, time was probably a month or two ago. But no, if you saw last night's game, you know it was not tenable for Lucas Erceg, the human being's sake, to have him on a big league mound moving forward. So the Royals did make that move, and we'll get to that a little bit later on in this show today. Got 2 great guests today. I mentioned Michael Swain, which, again, should have been my tip-off that this is a Tuesday show. Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network, will join us for Jayhawk Weekly, bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. We'll get Michael's insights as to what's happening at KU football camp as we get closer and closer. 2 weeks from this Friday, there will be a Kansas football game. And Michael's obviously done some great work over at Fog.net covering the Jayhawks. We'll talk about what's happening there and what KU's roster expectations on the basketball side are as they continue to kind of wait out all of the litigations and injunctions that are happening as it pertains to players with possible eligibility for 2026-27. And, of course, at 5:25 today, another training camp report with Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Chiefs. Mitch will join us, courtesy of Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union, for another player on Cherry on the Sunday week. Players for whom it would be a fabulous bonus if they took another step forward for the Chiefs this season. Today's focal point, Tyquan Thornton, the wide receiver entering his second full season in Kansas City. Mitch Holthus at 5:25. Also got some headlines, lots of college sponsorship news to talk about in headlines today. We got another round of What Is Wrong With You, a little random question Tuesday as well. Plus your interaction with the program. You are, as always, invited and encouraged to be a part of 580 Sports Talk. Shoot us a text. 785-272-9429 is the number. That's 785-272-9429. You can also interact with the program on YouTube. Name of the channel is 580 Sports Talk, and if you are watching the program on YouTube today, there is a live chat. If you're watching the show naturally live from 3 to 6 Central Time, jump in that live chat and say hi and Interact amongst yourselves, interact with your hosts, and help grow the 580 Sports Talk community. See Christopher in the chat today. Saw him too late to bail me out of what day it is. Sandra's in the chat. Great to see you today. Sandra, Mark H., Vance, Andrew. Great to have you along. Look forward to hearing from you throughout the show today here on 580 Sports Talk. We got 2 preseason games left. We got 2 days of camp and then 2 preseason games remaining for the Kansas City Chiefs. So we start with that caveat, that there's a lot that can change between now and the final gun next Friday after the Chiefs wrap up the preseason with their final preseason game at home against the Seahawks. A lot can change, but this feels like an appropriate time. We're almost to the end of camp. We've seen a preseason game. We kind of have an idea of who the Chiefs are maybe interested in keeping, who played a bunch of special team snaps, who maybe didn't play a whole lot of snaps. Felt like this was a good opportunity to roll out a 53-man roster projection for the 2026 season and where things stand with the roster. We'll go ahead and strike special teams off right away because that's obvious. No big changes there, no dramatic changes. The specialists are who they are. Harrison Butker, Matt Araiza, James Winchester. Easy as you please. No bonus points for getting any of those guys correct. Those are 3 of your 53. They'll be active every week. Now for the other 50. Sure seems like they are leaning towards keeping 3 quarterbacks. And Matt Derrick mentioned when we talked to him last week that you might be comfortable exposing a rookie quarterback to waivers, trying to get them through to your practice squad, because if you are really going to claim a quarterback at that stage, when they've already had a full offseason period with an entirely different team and an entirely different playbook, then you're basically spending the whole year unlearning everything they learned at their first stop. And it basically becomes a waste of a year for that quarterback. And for that reason, there's a chance the Chiefs try to slip Garrett Nussmeier through waivers and slide him to the practice squad. And that they might be able to have success with that, with teams looking and saying, hey, look, we didn't think it was worth it to use a draft pick on this player, and he's had the whole summer in the Chiefs system. It doesn't really make a lot of sense for him to come in and be in our roster, unless they're just trying to take an extra quarterback to be like, well, yeah, you know the Chiefs playbook, so why don't you share what you've learned with the class? I don't know if anybody really feels that way, at least enough to hold a roster spot open for the guy. But right now, feels like Nussmeier is a lean to make the roster and be that third quarterback that the Chiefs haven't really carried. So right there, you're taking away from a position where the Chiefs have generally carried more players. That's one roster spot that the Chiefs don't have open somewhere else that they've typically had open in the Mahomes era. Mahomes and Justin Fields also making the team. I think the Mahomes kid is going to stick. It's been a good camp for him, and it looks like he's going to make the squad. I still think they're keeping 4 at running back with Kenneth Walker, Emmett Johnson, Rashard Smith, and Amari DiMercato. DiMercato is definitely on the bubble. Like, he might be 53 or 52 in a 53-man roster projection right now, but they did invest a little in him, and if he ends up playing the Elijah Mitchell role of being the inactive running back that they're just kind of stashing for an emergency, then so be it. But they've kept 4 running backs fairly frequently, so it looks like those are going to be the 4. Not much debate there.
That's where I have 2.
They would not. They wouldn't increase that to 5. I don't think at this point they'll decrease to 3. Wide receivers, obviously Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Tyquan Thornton, Cyrus Allen, Jalen Royals are your locks. Andrew Armstrong tweaked a hamstring earlier this week, and that'll bear monitoring. But I think it was Andrew in the live chat on YouTube yesterday who mentioned he really liked the way Armstrong plays physically on the perimeter as a blocking wide receiver, not really an element that the Chiefs have had with that size and physicality on the perimeter. So Armstrong, I think, is pretty clearly wide receiver 6, and think that he will make the roster, barring a significant injury. And Nico Remigio as the 7th / the kick return specialist. If DeMercado's not 53, then Remigio is 53. That's probably the last guy, the bubble guy right now. And the question for the Chiefs is he the best return option to the point where it is justifiable keeping him on the roster? Now, Spencer, you don't think it is. Yeah,
no, I don't think it is. I said this on X during the game. I said this on the show yesterday. I said Brashard Smith, to me, I think he could do both, and I think that's where they're going to lean. If Johnson is going to be the main guy that gets the second reps at running back, I think it's perfect.
So I don't necessarily disagree with your evaluation that Smith is just as good, or if not better, than Remigio as a return man. In fact, I've said it. I think at least punt return, it's clear to me that Smith is better than Remigio. But I'm not making this projection because I'm sitting in Brett Veach's shoes. I'm trying to project what Brett Veach and Dave Tobe and Andy Reid and that coaching staff are going to decide about their special teams. And if they didn't like Remigio, they would have sent him packing in the offseason. They didn't have to bring him back. They did. And to me, that tells me that they do evaluate him as their best return option, and that's why I do think that he's going to make the team. So that's difference of opinion for you and I there, Spencer. Yeah. We're back on track at tight end. I think they're going to keep 4, Travis Kelce, Noah Gray, Jared Wiley. Jake Brenningstool looks like he's going to be the 4th over Trey Watson. I guess it depends on if they really feel like Watson gives them something extra as a blocker that they might not have with the other 3. Brenningstool certainly has more promise as a receiver. It's kind of a coin flip between those two, but I do think that they will keep 4 tight ends.
I think, too, Brenningstool, I think he'll probably be inactive for a good portion of the season.
Yeah, they won't typically dress all 4 tight ends. That'll be fairly rare. The other question is, which of them brings something on special teams? Does Brenningstool bring something? Because a lot of times that 4th tight end, like when they dressed Peyton Hendershot a handful of times, like he was somebody who could help him on special teams. Is Watson more to help on special teams than Brenningstool is? That may be what decides that 4th tight end position. Offensive line, I think it'll be 9 this year. The starters left to right: Josh Simmons, Kingsley Suamataia, Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, Jalen Moore. The backups: Khalil Benson, Esapole, Mike Caliendo, and Hunter Norzad. Hard to imagine that they've got the room for 10, especially if they are going to keep so many skill guys. Right now, it feels like Pete Nigra is offensive lineman number 10, but as an undrafted free agent, he's a pretty good candidate to slip through to the practice squad.
I would imagine that Chu Godric will also be
he's the international
player
guy.
on the practice squad too.
Yeah, he's the international guy.
So he's 11.
Yeah, they can protect him. Over on the defensive line, this is where injury considerations could make a difference here, because the top 9 are, I think, pretty obvious here, and I'm not sure that they have room for more than 9 on the 53. George Karlaftis, Chris Jones, Kyrus Tonga, Ashton Gelati, who did come up lame at practice today. That'll bear watching. He had just come back and then appeared to tweak an ankle today, maybe kind of land funny on his heel. Didn't look like worst case scenario type injury because he was walking around and trying to work out the kinks. But Gelati's on the 53, obviously. Felix Anudike-Uzomah, Peter Woods, Omar Norman-Lott, R. Mason Thomas, and Emmanuel Ogbah makes 9. The question is Omar Norman-Lott going to make it to opening day? Right now, you would have to kind of guess that he wouldn't. He remains on the physically unable to perform list, hasn't practiced, hasn't taken the field. If he remains on the PUP, then the Chiefs could place him on IR, and he would not count, obviously, against the 53 once camp comes to a close. And that would make room for one of Marcus Harris or Tyreek Smith. Harris may be the more natural fit because he is a defensive tackle, and he got to play quite a bit on Saturday. But I also noticed Tyreek Smith in there on special teams, covering the opening kickoff. Typically, that's kind of thing that you entrust to guys that you think might have a spot on your 53. It's just, if it's Omar Norman-Lott not making the team, then I think or because of injury, I think it's Harris. If Omar Norman-Lott isn't going to need an IR, if they feel like they can get him back out there and practicing in the next week or so, and he's not going to be IR eligible, and the Chiefs maybe think he's only going to miss a week or two, then does that complicate things? Does that mean they need to carry 10 defensive linemen just to be safe? And then maybe that does knock a Nico Remigio off the roster or a fourth tight end off the roster for the short term while Norman Locke gets healthy. But that's the interesting position to watch from an injury perspective. 5 linebackers: Nick Bolton, Drew Tranquill, Jeffrey Bassa, Cooper McDonald, Jack Cochran. Cochran didn't practice today, but nobody seemed real concerned that was a long-term issue there. Hard to imagine that there's a 6th linebacker, especially considering that we're down to just 9 spots after that, and I think they're going to need to carry 9 defensive backs. Now, this is where you have fewer wide receivers than me and an additional defensive back. But the locks are obviously Mansour Delane, Noel Williams, Alohi Gilman, Shamari Connor, Jaden Hicks, Chris Rowland Wallace, Jaden Kennedy, and Xavier Sneed. Those 8 are going to make it barring injury. After that, who knows? I think Kevin Knowles, he played 13 games last year. I think that means he is viewed as a special teams help and has that versatility that the Chiefs like with their backup defensive backs. He played safety. He played slot in college at Florida State. I think Knowles is going to make it. That means Melvin Smith, Kader Kohu, Christian Fulton, Xavier Wampa, who we know they really liked in minicamp as a possible option as special teams. I don't have room for those 4 guys. And I think those are all NFL players, but I don't have room. You have room for one of them, Spencer. Who would it be?
Fulton. I think he's an NFL player, and I think that's why he's making it. Like, he's a vet.
Guy, he didn't play until late in the first half on Saturday. I can't get beyond.
Talk to me
I'm
after
having trouble
game
getting beyond
2.
that.
Talk to me after game 2.
I'm having trouble getting beyond the fact that they didn't run him with the starters. Like, why keep a guy, especially if you can maybe free up a little cap room if you need to make an addition later on? Why keep a guy that you don't view as somebody? Now, there's a more charitable reading of this for Fulton's sake that, he's a proven commodity. We don't really need to run him out there with the ones. Well, then why run him out there at all?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I just think he's still going to make it. I think.
I hope Christian
Get
Fulton,
back to me after this next game.
I hope he didn't buy a home is all I'll say there. So those are our roster projections. What do you think? Did we get it right? Did we miss the mark? Let us know. 785-272-9429 is the text line number. You can also interact on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Got some audio from camp coming up here in just a little bit. We'll hear from Eric Bieniemy and Jeffrey Bassa. We'll talk about the nonsense that is Patrick Mahomes being ranked the 18th best player in the National Football League. What is wrong with you's coming up? Michael Swain for Jayhawk Weekly. We've got Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs, at 525. Got a great show for you today. Sure, I'm glad you're here on 580 Sports Talk.
IBW. 580 Sports Talk. On the radio at 580 WIBW. Streaming video on 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. And streaming audio live on the MSC radio app.
Just getting started on this Tuesday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Dan and Spencer with you. Question from the 785 on the text line, 785-272-9429 is where you can hit us up on the text line. Asking about the waiver process, how does a team stash a player outside the 53-man roster other than by signing them to the practice squad? Well, the only way that you stash a player is if you have another roster designation for them. So injured reserve would be a roster designation for that player, but that's really about it.
We saw Brenningstool with that last year.
Yeah, so and we've seen players who are kind of hurt get that designation, and it used to be that there was a little bit, the rules were a little bit stricter because you had to pass the players through injury waivers, and now you don't have to do that anymore with the non-vested, the guys with less than 4 years of service time. So now you can just put them on IR.
Yeah.
But that is a way that teams have given players who get hurt in camp and they want to keep them around on the practice squad and they don't want to subject them to waivers. They put them on IR. You know, the offshoot of that is that player is no good to them for the rest of the season. Let's say last year, Brenningstool, it was a hamstring.
Yeah.
And so maybe Brenningstool was in game shape by November. Wouldn't have mattered. Chiefs couldn't have used him. He was on season-ending IR, but it allowed them to keep him.
That's the difference.
For the on the practice.
The season
squad.
ends 100%. There's no chance of coming back. That's how you stash them.
So on the Saturday after the Chiefs wrap up, so 2 Saturdays from now starts the waiver period where every team's got to get from 90 to 53, and from I think it's 4 p.m. Eastern
Sunday
to noon on the next day, noon on Sunday. So it's a shortened waiver period. It's less than the 24 hours that you usually have. But you have until noon Eastern on Sunday to claim players and, waiver claim. It's done by record or by draft order at this point. And if that player goes unclaimed, you can then sign that player to the practice squad. Now, you've only got, is it 16?
Is it 15 with the 16?
15? Yes. No, it's 17.
17.
It is. So I was right. 16 plus 1.
Yes.
And the plus 1 is the International Player Pathway Program. That's where the Chiefs have carried Chu Godric for all these years. And he will be, again, would imagine, their 17th guy on the practice squad. So Chiefs have to cut 37 players and can only keep 16 of those 37 on their practice squad, and they all have to go through the waiver process unless they have enough service time. What they're called vested if they've played more than 4 years. So, like if the Chiefs cut Christian Fulton, let's use him as an example. If they cut Christian Fulton, he doesn't have to go through waivers. He can just sign with whoever he wants to sign with.
Yeah.
And if that means the Chiefs, then the Chiefs can still sign him back and say, hey, you want to be in our practice squad? Great. But he is immediately free to go sign with another team where players who have 4 or fewer years, which is most guys get cut because a lot of them are, undrafted free agent types, then those players are subject to waivers. And then by the time the waiver period winds up at noon.
Isn't that what happened to Issa Pole?
Yes, Pole got claimed.
By the Jets.
Yes.
And then the Jets ended up taking him off their practice, cutting them from, I think he got called up, and then he never, once he got cut from the Jets, then the Chiefs signed him to their practice squad.
So, yeah, I think it was something like that. Yeah, he was cut by the Jets so he was on their 53-man roster because that's just it. If you claim a player, it's not unlike baseball where you have the active roster, 26-man active roster. Players designated for assignment, you have to add that player to your 40-man roster. And then if they don't have any options, you have to add them to your 26-man roster. You have to add them immediately to the active roster. So it goes with waivers in football. There's 53 spots. If you're going to sign somebody off of waivers, you have to add them to your 53-man roster. Otherwise, then you got to pass them through waivers, and then anybody else could claim them. So what happened with Pole was when he got cut by the Jets, the rest of the league, it was a 24-hour period where teams could place a claim, and the Chiefs made a claim, and they got to add him back. And they were able at that point, because it was during the season, to add him to the practice squad because they had a vacancy on the practice squad. So there will not be a quiz later, but in case you were curious, that's how that all works. Is it will be sort of a feeding frenzy. They used to have 2 cut down days.
Yeah.
When they had the 4-game preseason, you had a cut down day, you get down to 75, and then you got down to the 53. And now it's just one full-fledged cut day, and so it creates quite a frenzy. If you're a real sick puppy, you can try and project out which 16 players the Chiefs might like to keep on the practice squad. I think some guys that are obvious practice squad targets for them would be whichever tight end doesn't make the roster. Brenning Stuhler Watson, they would like to keep that player around. Probably somebody in the wide receiver room, whether it's Jimmy Holiday, maybe it's Xavier Lloyd, maybe it's Jason Brownlee, who stuck there last year.
The undrafted free agent they really liked?
That was Xavier Lloyd.
I thought it was somebody else.
No, that was Xavier Lloyd. Lloyd's the one that made it out of the tryout.
Oh.
Yeah. Zelmar Vetter is maybe somebody that they look at. If Niagara doesn't make the team, maybe a linebacker like Wesley Besainth. Certainly, you keep a couple offensive linemen, you keep a couple defensive linemen, because you got to have those guys at the ready because injuries happen. But
I would imagine E.J. Smith or Jay Knott, one of those 2 guys.
Yeah, they'll probably keep it back. They'll probably try and keep it back. I don't think either of those guys is a real. I mean, could keep them both, honestly.
Yeah.
Because I don't think either of those guys. Because you kind of have a feeling too for which guy isn't going to wind up on somebody else's 53. That's a tougher call for, like, maybe Trey Watson does get signed, but you're crossing your fingers on that. But like, if you really want to keep Ethan Hurkett, you're probably going to be able to. So that's the calculus. That's why they pay those guys the big bucks. We'll take a break, come back, hear from Chiefs training camp today. Eric Bieniemy spoke to the media for the first time this training camp. We'll hear from EB and Jeffrey Bassa. But before we take this break, I want to tell you about my friends at Calhoun's Jewelers here in Topeka. It's the best showroom for jewelry in the city. It's the best customer service of any jewelry store in the city. And look, customers everywhere agree. That's why they were the community choice, once again, from the Topeka Capital Journal for the best jewelry store in Topeka. You will find out why the moment you walk in, the experience that you have, the pieces that you find on display or that they can help you design. It is a first-class experience from start to finish. Purchasing your jewelry from Calhoun's Jewelers. I did it, and you should too. 18th and Gage here in Topeka. More 580 Sports Talk next.
Dan Lucero and Spencer Dupuis talking sports in Topeka. This is 580 Sports Talk.
5A Sports Talk continues, 3:41 on this Tuesday. Let's hear from Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy, who took to the podium for the first time during this training camp. Spoke with the media earlier today after practice.
Good morning, good afternoon. Hope all is well. First and foremost, I want to say this. Thank you guys for all the love, the support. Obviously, the unfortunate circumstances which took place is very hurtful in a way, but on top of that, I just respect that you guys are respecting our privacy, and hats off to you. I also would like to say thank you to the Hunt family, the entire Chief family, for the outpouring, the love, and the support that my family has received through this particular situation. But with all that said, we back to football, all right? And I'm all ears. Who got me?
Eric, what did it mean to get back here, and do you feel a little bit like Travis does, that this is a sanctuary for you?
You know what? Yes, it feels good to be back. First and foremost, obviously, it's an opportunity to get back in with the guys, to watch them work. That way now we can all grow and get to learning each other. Obviously, we got a lot of new faces, and we want to continue the developmental process. But it feels good to be back because obviously when you've been in this environment, it becomes your family. This is your family away from your family. So it feels good to be in this environment.
And could you describe a little bit of how you stayed connected? There was some considerable thought about how you were always watching.
Well, and here's the thing. I wasn't always watching, but when things kind of settled back home, I had an opportunity to tap in and tell you, technology is pretty impressive now. You can watch practice live, through a stream, and I had an opportunity to go through the script, and my language probably got a little colorful in the house, and I had a bunch of family members that was there that never really heard some of the language that was used, but I had a great time, and it felt good just to see the guys work, but on top of that, just to feel like I was still a part of it.
So you found yourself actually yelling at the screen sometimes?
Yelling at the screen, yelling at players, yelling at coaches. What the hell are we doing? I was doing everything. I'm yelling at myself. Why would you put that play in? But at the end of the day, it was just keep making sure I can keep up with what was going on. And on top of that, I didn't want to get away too far, but I just wanted to make sure that I can remain focused and locked in when I could have an opportunity to do so.
Just for clarity purposes, I know Andy's giving updates on the, from what you can tell, what she's going to be able to have a full recovery?
Say that one more time.
Based on what Andy has told us earlier, does it look like Mia's going to have a chance to have a full recovery?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Mia.
Oh, Mia, okay. I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry. Yes. So she's on a great road to recovery. And like I said, I'm going to keep that private. And first and foremost, let me go backwards to go forward. Yes, she is on the road to recovery. Yes, she is doing great. It's one of the main reasons why I'm back here, because of her recovery. She's truly a soldier. She's a saint, and it's been incredible to watch. But with that said, I know I was driving her and a bunch of my family members crazy in the house. So she was like, you have my blessing to leave. So it was time to get back.
I wonder if you could speak to what football provides for players and coaches sometimes in like a necessary escape.
This environment, I've been playing football, been a part of this sport since the age of 6. So this has been a part of who I am. I've had an opportunity to make a number of great friends over the years, and those friendships, they last. The bonds that you form are very strong, and you end up developing these instant relationships that just, with things that you have in common. And so this is a beautiful sport. I know, obviously, you have your highs and lows with what takes place on the field, but when it's all said and done with, it's all about people, being united, all right, for one common goal, and that's bringing people together for the same common reasons, because we all want to win. But on top of that, we understand the importance of being accountable to one another.
Eric, you've been with Kenneth a little bit, in the mini camp and all that stuff, but what are your impressions of him now, having had him here at camp?
You know what? Kenneth's been very impressive. He's been working his tail off. The thing that I love about him is his competitive spirit. He gets up, he competes every single day. The thing that I also love, he does not like to be wrong, which is not a bad thing, because he wants to be argumentative, but on top of that, he wants to make sure that he's doing the right things. So when you have that type of person in that player, and the example that he shows out on the field, you know that he's going to give us the best opportunity to have success on Sundays.
What's been most, pleasant or intriguing for you to now be working with Patrick again, going all the way from the OTA periods to where you guys now are in training camp?
I tell you this, it's, you know what, and I don't even think it's necessarily the stuff that he does on the field. We've seen that. Obviously, he's a tremendous competitor. He works his tail off. Everybody understands the talent that he has. When I came back and I watched him work, in rehab, that was what stood out, Just his commitment to wanting to get back, his commitment to wanting to being out there with his teammates, all the hard work that he put in with Julie and Rick and all them in the training room. That was very impressive to watch. And if anything, if anybody was soft, it was probably me, But watching him go through it, gives me a whole different perspective of not only the player, but the man that he is, all right? And just the type of person that he is and that he's going to turn out to be, all right, on the football field.
Let's go 3 more. Go ahead, Matt.
Hey, Coach, what did you learn about your young backfield guys behind Kenneth on Saturday, and especially him?
You know what? I think our young guys, they did a fairly good job. Obviously, there's a lot of competition in the room. Guys still got to make sure that they're doing all the fundamental things the right way. It's still a growing process. Was it perfect? No, it wasn't perfect. But there was some good, and we'll continue coaching that up. But on top of that, we got to make sure that we continue understanding the fundamentals, okay? Continue building upon that and detailing all the little things that we're expecting them to do, all right? The thing that I appreciate also, too, is that Coach DeMarco's doing a heck of a job with them of teaching them, getting them ready, but on top of that, putting them in the right positions to go out there and excel and show their talents.
Eric, I wonder if you could describe a little how guys like Patrick and Travis uplifted you and other players themselves during this time, and if you could share a little bit about what it took for you to decide to be able to come back.
It means a lot. I've known those guys, it seems like forever now. And you develop these relationships and these bonds. And like I said, we become a member of each other's family. And it means a lot not only to have great players, but more importantly, great people that happen to be great players that care about you, not just as a coach, but care about who you are as a person, as a family man. And so it means a lot.
Where are you guys at it? You mentioned joking about yelling at the screen. Where do you feel like you're at as an offense in terms of like a polished operation as far as your satisfaction?
Well, right now, it's the beauty of camp right now. Obviously, we're in the dog days of camp. Last week's performance wasn't ideally our best. We still got to make sure that we're cleaning up all the pre-snap procedural stuff. We got to be able to get out the huddle and give ourselves a chance to line up and play. And on top of that, we got to eliminate the holding calls. So if we can eliminate that stuff, we'll give ourselves a chance. Right now, we're still in camp mode, working on the developmental process, making sure that our guys understands the what's, the whys, and the hows, okay? And that's our job as coaches. We got to make sure that they understand all the little things that we're inputting into them to get them to go out and perform on game day. So right now, we're not where we need to be. There was some good, but these practices that we've had the past few days, the guys have stepped up. They've accepted the challenge, and they understand, okay, what needs to be accomplished. So we just going to continue to grow from here on out.
That was Eric Bieniemy. Good to hear from him again. EB back at the podium for the first time this fall. Also speaking today, we'll play a little bit of the second-year linebacker out of Oregon, Jeffrey Bassa. Real smart kid. We knew that. We heard him talk some last year when he was a rookie. This is a guy with a really high football IQ, and it'll be interesting to see what his role becomes in the Chiefs defense this year. Here's some of what Jeffrey Bassa had to say.
Jeff, you seem very high on your football IQ and your understanding. It's year 1 and year 2. How has that been going? Do you feel like you're better understanding this year?
Could you repeat the last sentence for me?
Year 1 and year 2, how would you say it's different in terms of understanding what Steve's trying to accomplish?
Yeah. I take a lot of pride in my football IQ and being able to, come into a system and learn the defense and learn the fundamentals and learn the basics. But, going in from, just like you mentioned, going from year 1 to year 2, like that's a lot from just a developmental standpoint. Like they're depending on you to, go into that full off season and really sit down by yourself and really take into the depths of the playbook and learn that by yourself, and to be able to come back and know what you're doing confidently, and to be able to communicate out there. If you're communicating out there and you're loud and talking and being demonstrative with your communication, that means that you have a lot of confidence in yourself and the calls that you're making on the field. So I think that was a huge jump for me, was just to have that full off season under my belt, being able to take a deep dive into the playbook like I did, and it showed when I first came back, and I'm willing to still there's still some things that I'm trying to get to to the elite football IQ level, and with understanding just like offenses and defenses.
Is that like describe their process as like an exit interview with Spags, where he directed you and gave you coaching tools for the offseason?
Yeah, nothing specific in general. I mean, I think it's just like a thing around the league, like especially with our team. Like Spags runs a very complex defense, so that's kind of a testimony to yourself, and it's just a good look when you come back and you know what you're doing, and you're actually being a professional and having that full offseason under your belt.
Has that allowed you to play faster and more free this year?
Yes, sir. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, just flying around with confidence, making the right calls, making the right checks, and just being out there with the guys, whatever group that I'm in, just being able to understand what we're doing, but then not only what I'm doing, but also what my D-line and people in the back end are doing as well.
Jeff, what was your focus in training this offseason coming into this year?
Yeah, there was a lot of things. There are a couple things to list off the top of my head right now, was just, the football IQ, the football aspect of that, and then as well as just my body, being able to put a little more muscle on, and being able to put a little more lead to the pencil. And so I think I did a great job of that, just training and watching what I ate, being a full professional, whether that's meal prepping or whether that's going to multiple trainers, and that's doing CrossFit like boxing and little things like that on the side as well.
Nick, Jeffrey, what did you like most about your performance Saturday, and what did you feel like, man, I wish I could do that maybe better for the next game?
Yeah, first I'm going to start off with the things that I thought I could have did better. I thought I could have just played more downhill, more freely. There was a couple times where I was a little hesitant, and I didn't really like that, based on some of the things that I was seeing. So being able to see a lot, and just, play freely. But I thought I did a good job of, tackling and, coming up with the limb, whether that was, having to be a scallop tackle, or whether that was, the guy is, 1 yard outside of my frame, and, be able to get him down. So take a lot of pride in, being able to be a good tackler. So.
A couple more.
You talked about diet and all that kind of stuff. Were you trying to get a little bit bigger? What do you want to play at as a weight? Because you were kind of in between at college. What's your ideal weight now, you think?
Yeah, so my ideal weight, so right now I'm weighing around like 232 to 233. So I'm at a really good weight, being able to still keep my speed, which is one of my main things in my game. But then as well as just, like I said, just being able to be more firm, whether that's in the run game, and being able to use my hands and be more physical. So that was really it. It wasn't too crazy of a jump from last year. It was just a couple pounds here and there. So.
Last one. How do you feel like the competition for the snaps leader left is going, just among you, yourself, and all the guys?
Yeah, I think we have a really great room, and the competition has been great. Coming in from OTAs, a lot of guys flying around. A lot of guys know what they're doing now with a full off season under their belt, and we have some young guys in the room who are also out there making a name for themselves as well. So, with the room that we have, I feel like we have a really good room to where it's kind of always just going to be, every day you really don't know who's going to put their best foot forward, and it's really consistent with our room as well. So it's a lot of guys flying around making a lot of plays. So
that was Jeffrey Bassa at training camp earlier today. Some audio from St. Joe's. The Chiefs continue their final week of training camp. We'll take a timeout, come back, wrap up this 3 o'clock hour. 580 Sports Talk next.
Enough commercials. Back to the Sports Talk. 580 Sports Talk.
We are 28 days away from kickoff for the Kansas City Chiefs. Season opener, September 14th against the Denver Broncos, Arrowhead Stadium. Number 28, of course, not being worn by an active Chief because it is retired in honor of the first great Chief. Also the first great Dallas Texan, Abner Haynes, the legendary number 28. No other Chief will ever wear that number again. The standout at North Texas chose the AFL in part because Lamar Hunt promised and made the rest of the ownership of the AFL promise too. When it founded in 1960, that league would be integrated from the start. There would be no fighting it. There would be no pushing against it. The AFL would be for everybody. And that included Abner Haynes, much to the benefit of Lamar Hunt's Texans and later his Kansas City Chiefs. Coming up in the 4 o'clock hour of the show today, NFL players really think Patrick Mahomes is the 18th best player in the NFL. What in the world is going on here? We'll discuss that a little bit. We got another round of What Is Wrong With You coming up next hour. We got a little Random Question Tuesday coming up. We've also got Jayhawk Weekly with Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Michael will join us, talk about the latest developments at KU football camp, including possibly concerning injury at wide receiver. We'll get Michael's thoughts on that, as well as the developing roster scenarios unfolding that are possible for KU basketball. Mitch Holthus will join us at 5:25 today. Hang with us. We got 2 more hours to spend together here on this Tuesday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 2 on a Tuesday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis, rocking with you on the sports voice of Kansas. 580 WIBW FM 104.9. Online at 580WIBW.com. On your mobile device, on the MSC radio app, and we're on YouTube. Name of the channel, of course, 580 Sports Talk. We're so easy to find. We're everywhere. Check us out. Thanks for being here on this Tuesday here on 580 Sports Talk. 2 more hours of show left. We're off at 6 for Royals baseball. The Royals and the A's, game 2 of their 4-game series at Kauffman Stadium. Daniel Lynch against Jack Perkins, the starting pitching matchup tonight. Royals were winners last night, 9-5. They'll try and make it 2 wins in a row and 4 in 5 after they have beaten up on the other cellar dwellers in the AL West, the Angels, over the weekend. First pitch, 6:40, pregame 6 o'clock from the Royals Radio Network here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. Good talk some Chiefs this hour. There are 17 NFL players better than Patrick Mahomes. Really? Really? A long-held, a long-cherished belief of mine is under attack. And we'll get into that. We got What Is Wrong With You coming up this hour. Bottom of the hour, Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Get his insights on the Jayhawks. 2 Fridays from today, we got Jayhawk football at the booth as the remodeling continues. The under construction David Booth Kansas Memorial Stadium this year, as the Jayhawks will take on the Sharks of Long Island University. Did you know they fielded a football team before they popped up on KU's schedule? Because I'm going to keep it all the way real with you. I didn't.
I knew about 2 or 3, I guess it would be 3 or 4 years ago, because they played West Virginia.
Is that right?
Yeah, in 22 or 23, They played West Virginia as one of the first games.
I guess I remember that. The LIU Sharks last year went 6-6. They were 4-3 in the Northeast Conference. Did end the year on a 3-game winning streak. Also beat their D1 D1 team last year. Beat an FBS team last year. They beat Eastern Michigan. They also lost to Florida 55-0.
Tells you more about Eastern Michigan.
Yeah, tough year for the Eagles of Eastern Michigan. They did beat Wagner. So Kansas and LIU had a common opponent last year with Wagner. Wagner is in the Northeast Conference. That is who Kansas opened up against last year and beat 46-7 last August 29th.
For LIU. They're at North Dakota in week 0.
Mm-hmm.
Then they're at Kansas. Then they host Albany. Then they host Villanova. And they're at Florida International.
So, yeah, two FCS teams again on the schedule. Not a Florida in the bunch. But North Dakota we know is pretty good. Ask K-State. Their head coach, Ron Cooper, he longtime assistant. He's been a head coach previously. He was a head coach at Louisville real briefly in the mid-'90s, back before that program became what it has become over the years. Also head coach previously at Eastern Michigan and also Alabama A&M. Anyhow, we'll talk to Michael Swain. Didn't mean to get down the LIU Shark football wormhole there, but we'll talk to Michael of Fog.net at 4:35, bottom of this 4 o'clock hour, and get his thoughts as fall camp continues with the Jayhawks. Also coming up on the show at 5:25 today, Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs, for another training camp report brought to us by Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. Today's player in the spotlight is Tyquan Thornton. We'll hear some exclusive audio from the veteran wide receiver when we talk to Mitch coming up at 5:25. Still got headlines, all that good stuff coming up on the show. Your thoughts, text line is wide open, 785-272-9429. That is 785-272-9429. Can also interact with us in the live chat on our YouTube channel. If you're watching the show on YouTube today, we say hello to all of you. Again, the name of the channel is 580 Sports Talk. Easy to find us over there on YouTube. Can we do a little show business here before we've got some show business, not show business. We got show business. There's a podcast I enjoy listening to, the Shutdown Fullcast.
Yes,
it is the internet's only college football podcast, and they every time they have something to promote, whether it is their other side projects or something else that's going on, some partnership that they might have, they refer to it as podcast business. And they do a whole thing. It's a very funny part of the show. Yes. If anybody out there is a Shutdown Fullcast listener, you know exactly what I'm referring to, and you can hear Spencer Hall in your head singing the podcast business song. We do not have a show business song, but that is the spirit in which that we do this. Call it show business. Things that are coming up for us or from us here with 580 Sports Talk and the universe of sports that pertains to us. We'll start with this. Pigskin Preview coming out next week. That's what I'm hearing. Don't have an exact street date for the magazine, but the MSC Sports Pigskin Preview, now bigger and better than ever, with previews of 62 schools from across Northeast Kansas, Missouri, and Nebraska. 62 schools. If you're hearing this, your school, decent chance it's in it. And if it didn't make this year's magazine, reach out to me and tell me who would maybe sponsor your school's page in next year's magazine, and we'll get them in.
Yeah.
We'll get them in.
Something to add to that. Beginning maybe the end of this week into next week, during my 7:32 a.m. sportscast, you'll hear me giving a little bit away, maybe not too much from the Pigskin Preview, but giving you some teases for the city schools and into the county.
So the magazine is at the printer and should be printed next week. It's the biggest edition ever of the MSC Hoops Pigskin Preview. And for those wondering, yes, this is now a collaboration. MSC Sports has been doing their magazine for many years. We got nearly 40 years of what we called the Pigskin and Hoops magazine here with 580 WIBW. This is in the same spirit. This is a continuation of that legacy, and it is a return after 2 years of being an online-only product to print. So those of you wanting to read about your Hayden Wildcats or Topeka High Trojans or Highland Park Scots or Osage City Indians or Burlingame Bearcats or Rock Creek Mustangs or Wabaunsee Chargers or Topeka West Chargers or Santa Fe Trail Chargers. There's a lot of Chargers in the area as it happens. Anyhow, you're in the book. The magazine will be out next week, and we will tell you, we already had somebody jump in a text line and ask us, we'll tell you where you can pick up the magazine when we have the magazine and we get it out. We will tell you every single day. We will make sure that you find your way to a copy or multiple copies of the MSC Sports Pigskin Preview. We're excited to, Spencer and I both, part of the magazine, part of getting it written, getting it published, and we can't wait for you to see it. We can't wait for you to check this out. Full previews of the Big East League, the NEKL, and the Twin Valley League. Full league previews, league breakdowns, and also schools that are not just in those leagues, but also, as I mentioned, all 8 of these schools here in the capital city. That's Care Paravel, Hayden, Highland Park, Topeka High, Topeka West, Seaman, Shawnee Heights, and Washburn Rural. In addition, new to the magazine this year includes Burlingame, Santa Fe Trail, Linden, Mission Valley, Burlington, Rock Creek, Wabaunsee, and Osage City. Those 8 schools are new to the magazine, in addition to the 8 Topeka schools. Brings the total for the magazine to 62 schools. Lots of great stuff in there. Also previews of Washburn football, Benedictine football, Highland Community College football, and Peru State football as well. So we will tell you next week when we have it in our hot little hands, and we're going to take it out to our sponsor sites where you can pick it up. And even if you're not in Topeka, if you're in one of those outlying areas, outlying areas. I don't know that that's the exact phrasing.
Correct phrasing.
Topeka, surrounding areas. Let's go surrounding. Outlying is more of a severe weather phrase. But the surrounding areas you want to read about your team, we'll tell you where you can get yourself a copy of the Pigskin Preview. That's that bit of news. Secondly, you've waited long enough. You did what we asked you to do. You got us to 1,000 YouTube subscribers. We're comfortably over. We're not at a point where we're losing. We're in danger of tipping back under the 1,000 subscriber mark. We've cleared it with some room to spare. We're always looking for more subscribers. Do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Now's a good time to do it. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. We promise you a reward for getting us to 1,000 next Wednesday. Next Wednesday, the 26th. Spencer and I are going to eat the hottest wings we can bear. We are going to do the Hot Wing Challenge here on 580 Sports Talk. That is coming up next Wednesday.
Do we have a time during the show?
We are going to do it
after we talk to Mitch Holthus.
Yes, we're going to do it after we talk to Mitch. Yeah, that's going to be the way we have to do it.
I think it would not be a great product for the listeners and the viewers, maybe, if we did it at 4 o'clock.
No, so we're going to do it towards the end of the program. So after we talk to Mitch, call it 5:40 next Wednesday. Spencer and I are going to take the Hot Wing Challenge on this program. We are going to deliver what we promised. And we are going to eat unbearably hot wings and probably ruin dinner for ourselves that night. I'm going to tell. I'm going to have to warn my wife. Hey, look, I might not have much of an appetite if this is really going to be as bad as it seems like it might be. It's going to ruin my taste buds. So we'll see how that goes. But that is going to be the plan next Wednesday, the 26th. Make your plans as necessary. We will, of course, stream it live on YouTube. We will eat hot wings. Hot wings. The Hot Wing Challenge. You made us do this. We have no one to blame but our wonderful listeners and subscribers. Yeah. Next Wednesday, we're finally doing it. So, there you have it. Let's keep moving here. That's it for show business. All right, that's show business. I have long believed, and I have said it on this show many times, it has been one of my firmest beliefs, one of my most firmly held beliefs about sports. I've been covering sports for a very long time. I've been in radio professionally for 18 years. I've been in locker rooms professional in college. I've done this for a very long time at a reasonably high level of the profession. And I've come to believe some things over time to be true about sports. And one of those things that I've come over time to believe is true is very simple. Players know who's good. If you are a high-level professional athlete, and that's what you do for a living, and you're playing against the best of the best, you know who the best of the best of the best are. The way that Jay-Z would put it, game recognize game. I don't know if Jay-Z was first to that one. I remember him saying it once. So gonna give Jigga Man the props with that one. Game recognize game. Players know who is good. I don't know if I can believe that about players in the National Football League anymore, because I have resolutely been ignoring the NFL Top 100, because 2 years ago, it was the revelation that NFL players believed that Tyreek Hill was the best player in football that shook me to my core. Not that Tyreek Hill wasn't a great player and had a great 2023, but nobody would ever call him the best player in football at any given time. That was total nonsense. And it did. It shook my faith in this foundational belief that I've had over the years that that was something that I knew was true, that players know who's good. So over the last 2 years, I haven't paid any mind. Like, I don't think we talked about it once last year on 580 Sports Talk. We are well on our way to not talking about it again. And then I saw today that Patrick Mahomes, after being ranked 5th on the list last year, is now viewed by his peers as the 18th best player in the NFL. There is no planet on which there are 17 better NFL players than Patrick Mahomes. Even coming off of a down year, even coming off of a torn ACL, there are not 17 better football players than Patrick Mahomes. Jonathan Taylor sure ain't one of them. And look, Jonathan Taylor's really good, but be real honest about player value for a second. You know, a running back better than not just any quarterback, the quarterback in the NFL. Give me a freaking break. And then, okay, that piqued my curiosity, right? And then it's like, well, I got to look. Now I got to know. Now I got to see what kind of shenanigans these players are up to. And I went down the list, and I saw Sam Darnold ranked number 21. Friends, you may be aware, I am a fan of the Seattle Seahawks. I was a Sam Darnold skeptic, and Sam won me over in the only way he possibly could have last year. He won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He won me over. I'm a Darnold believer now. Not in the sense that I think he's the 21st best player in football, that he's on the same tier. You're essentially, in doing that, putting him on the same tier as Patrick Mahomes. That is lunacy. The players think Sam Darnold's the 21st best player in the NFL. He might not be the 21st best Seattle Seahawk. Like, if we're being honest, he might not have been the 21st best player on the team last year. He really might not have. He the 21st best player in football? Holy cow. I saw that. I assumed the next 20 guys were all Seahawks. I said, wow, great. Byron Murphy finally getting the love he deserves. Nicky Manwari, a little high for a rookie, but okay. Sam Darnold, 21st. Then I saw that Lamar Jackson was 69. Nice. But except not nice. Because what? Lamar Jackson had been second on the list last year.
It doesn't make any sense.
So there have been a lot of players, both current and former, who are very critical of the process by which this list gets filled out, by which these rankings are done. They're intended for this, right? Like, jamokes like me yelling about it on the radio, that's what they're looking for when they put this list out. They're looking for reaction to a certain degree. But come on, man. Even off of an injury-plagued 2025, even entering his 30s, there are 68 better National Football League players than Lamar Jackson. Guy who's won 2 MVPs. And I realize it can't all be reputation. It can't. Because then you'd have to continue to talk about Aaron Rodgers like a top-tier player when obviously the game has passed him by. But there's a difference between the game passing you by and, okay, yeah, maybe that guy didn't have a great year, but he still terrifies me. He's still the man. He's still got the rings. He's still got the MVPs and the Super Bowl MVPs. You can tell me 17 players are better than that guy? How do you sit down? How do you sit down and make a list of the best players in your league? If you play in that league and you got to make a list of the 17 best players and you sit down to do it honestly, and however many they make you rank. I don't think they actually ask players to go sit down and do 100 players. That feels like homework. Yeah. I'm sure they ask them to rank. I think it's like 20. I think they ask each player to rank a top 20 or something along those lines. Or maybe they just say, hey, rank as many as you want. How do you fix your face, say there are 17 players in the National Football League better than Patrick Mahomes? That blows my mind. Text from the 785, and this is a good point. This is what this all feels like this is leading up to, right? Like, the text reads, I'm pretty sure if Patrick can walk and run and throw, if he reads this, he's going to go nuclear this season. I've said this before. If I were outside of all of this, if I were observing Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs through the lens of an outside perspective, if I hadn't watched every single meaningful snap of Patrick Mahomes' career, if I had not covered the Chiefs from before the year he got drafted to now, if I were hosting some other sports talk show on some other frequency in some other market that did not cover the Kansas City Chiefs, I would hear all this stuff about, Oh, petty Patrick Mahomes. He takes this stuff to heart. It motivates him. It lights his fire. And I would meet it with a roll of the eyes. I would meet it with a great deal of skepticism. Well, yeah, every player gets motivated by slights. That's why the great ones are the great ones. But then I remember Mahomes lighting up the Bears on Sunday Night Football and throwing that touchdown pass and then holding up the four fingers very deliberately. 1, 2, 3, 4. As in 4 quarterbacks selected before me, including one that the Bears took that's hanging on as a backup right now. Anybody on the planet would have known it was a mistake at the number 2 overall pick that year. What nonsense that Mitchell Trubisky. Wasn't even all ACC. It was ridiculous when it happened, and it's even more ridiculous now.
Yeah.
But remember that clearly. He takes that to the field with him in a way that is notable. He takes that to game day with him in a way that is notable. So when Mahomes hears, and it's not just the garden variety and very understandable doubt about a guy coming off of a major knee injury, like that'd be one thing. That's understandable. We've got years and years of watching sports, and even the understanding that medical technology and science is more advanced now than it was like when Gale Sayers tore his ACL and was functionally finished as an NFL player when it happened. We understand the odds for Mahomes are better to come back and be him, be the guy that we are accustomed to watching again. That would be one thing. But he's got to hear that he's the 18th best player in the NFL, or that there's a voter in Mike Sando's QB tiers on The Athletic who thinks he's a second-tier quarterback in the league now. Or read in that same article a defensive coordinator talking about how he's got a bad body. Mahomes has taken all of that to the field September 14th and beyond. And again, if I were viewing this from the outside, I don't know how much stock I would put into it, but I'm like you guys. I've been in it. I've seen every snap that dude has taken. I have watched every move he has made on a football field as a professional. You aren't going to like this guy when he's angry. You aren't going to like him when he's angry. Funny question from the text line from the 785. Is Dak Prescott number 1? No. I think he might have already been ranked, or maybe not, but he's not going to be number 1.
Yeah, no, the rankings aren't out yet.
Yeah, so
this
we've
was
got
just 20-11 today.
No, we've only got 17 revealed, 17. So we don't have all the rest. I would presume that
it's coming out tomorrow.
They've got like 2 more that are going to come out tomorrow. They're doing 2 a day from this point forward. And then I'm looking at the list of players behind. Prescott was 31st.
Yeah.
Which was up 48 spots from the year before, which, man, that was some hating to have Prescott 79th best.
James Cook moved from 89, no, is that right? 89 to 20?
Yeah. He was 89th last year, and then he's up to top 20.
Mahomes was 5 last year.
Mahomes was 5 and moved down. Yeah. Jonathan Taylor wasn't even on the list last year.
Yeah.
He wasn't a top 100 player according to his peers last season, and now this season he's better than Patrick Mahomes. All right, sure.
Make that make sense.
We're going to take a time out here on 580 Sports Talk. Michael Swain's coming up here in just a little bit. Mitch Holthus at 525. But before we get to what is wrong with you, got to shout out the guys at Eagle Auto Wash and Detailing Salon here in the capital city of Kansas. Rained again today. Means if your car was out in it, your car's going to get a little dirty. You need to get it cleaned up. You need to take it to Eagle Auto Wash. If you're an unlimited Wash Pass member, you don't sweat that rain because, anytime it rains, anytime you get caught out in the rain, you can go and get your car washed. And those unlimited Wash Passes, they're unbelievable values. They start as low as $19 a month. And even if you're the type that maybe you only want to get your car washed once every now and then, the prices are still the best at Eagle Auto Wash, with some of their washes as low as half off the prices of their non-locally owned competitors. Go see them. Soar with the Eagle once a week. Eagle Auto Wash and Detailing Salon here in Topeka. What is wrong with you next on 580 Sports Talk?
Nobody covers your teams like our team.
This is my team?
The sports voice of Kansas.
A musclehead, a bunch of yes men, and a doodler?
580 WIBW.
So what is wrong with you? Time on 580 Sports Talk. 2 new stories today. Trying to take down our winner from yesterday, the guy who kept stealing things from Home Depot, and when confronted about it, said, I'm coming back to steal more stuff. And he did. Over and over again. Until finally he was arrested. Now he's going to do 3 years in jail for the brazen Home Depot burglaries. 2 new stories today. I will go first. We're going to Florida for mine. We've had stories like this before. This is just, you feel like common sense. The police would like you to know. You find an IED anywhere on your property or just out and about, don't bring it to them. Just give them the heads up. A well-meaning citizen arrived at the Lakeland, Florida Police Department with an old hand grenade on Sunday afternoon, forcing officers to shut down the station temporarily. Around 3 p.m., a person arrived at the station carrying a box. The person told officers they had been helping to clean out a family member's personal effects and found the box with what appeared to be a live grenade inside. LPD said as a precaution, they closed the police station and set up a perimeter, called in the Tampa Bomb Squad. Took about an hour and a half to get the situation squared away. The device was found to be a live hand grenade, possibly from the Korean War era.
Wow.
The department said, in hindsight, if you find a suspicious device like a live hand grenade, call the police rather than handle it yourself.
Yeah.
Like, again, they make sure to note, well-meaning citizen. This citizen knew, hey, man, this could be dangerous. I don't want this to be a menace to the public. I don't want anybody to get hurt. The police will help me. I'll just take it to their front door. Surely that's what they want me to do. No! No, man. Just leave the grenade. If it looks like a grenade, leave it alone.
Yeah.
Call the bomb squad. They'll come to you, brother. You can sit in the front. You can sit in your front room and put your feet up. It was Sunday. You could have watched the end of the golf tournament while they defused the bomb or the grenade in your attic or wherever. He could have just been chilling the whole time.
Dude's lucky he didn't die.
He is very lucky. Don't handle live grenades. Just, good rule of thumb. What's your story today?
We're going to Michigan. The Michigan inmate who was found with a bottle of Pinot in her prison purse. Look that up on your own time if you don't know what that is.
Jail wallet, yeah.
Has dodged the stiff prison sentence following her guilty plea to contraband smuggling charge. Monique Meggiani, 48, was facing a maximum 5-year sentence with a felony count, but on Friday, She was given 3 years probation and fined $200. She was also credited with time served she spent behind bars. This goes back to when she was initially busted at a CVS in Grand Traverse, where she previously had stolen wine. After being handcuffed and checked for weapons, Wait, was this my story from the other week?
Yes, you absolutely did this story. This is just a follow-up.
Okay.
Yeah, you did this story. Yeah, this woman stuffed a bottle of wine. So I've heard the term jail wallet. Prison purse is gendered, and that's on purpose here. That's where this bottle of wine went.
Yes. The bottle was removed and still intact.
I guess that's a relief.
Yes, but the screw top bottle was destroyed due to biohazard concerns.
I would say so.
Yes.
No. That's a Pinot from me, brother.
So she didn't want to go in the squad car because she felt like she was afraid of detoxing while in jail.
So obviously the one we have not had before, the live gentleman taking the live grenade to the police station wins. Does that beat the guy who kept stealing from Home Depot, even after kind of being caught? I don't know why they didn't arrest him. Like, he showed up. They obviously knew they'd caught him on camera, and they told him, hey, man, better not do that again. He said, watch me.
Yeah.
And then did it 4 days later. It's 80 convictions for that guy.
That guy, just because he has 80 convictions, I think he might win this week.
And stay out of Home Depot, because once he's released, he's no longer allowed to be in a Home Depot ever again. That's tough. He'll have to improve home improvement elsewhere. That's our winner on What Is Wrong With You. Michael Swain joins us next for Jayhawk Weekly.
From the Chiefs to the Jayhawks, the Wildcats to the Royals, this is Topeka's only local sports talk show, 580 Sports Talk.
I can't imagine.
We are joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline by Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. He joins us every Tuesday at this time for Jayhawk Weekly. And now is a great time to become a VIP subscriber, get all the inside dirt on what's happening at Jayhawks training camp and with KU basketball recruiting as well. And Michael, we can start right there. I'm sure you never thought you'd be doing this much reporting on what the 2026-27 basketball roster could look like on August 18th of this year.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've learned never say never. And the day that really solidified this for me was when I was at a good friend of mine's wedding a couple Augusts ago. It was mid-August, and Diggy Coit committed. And that was the day when I realized it never stops, and it's never, ever going to stop. But, yeah, so that's where we're at. You know, obviously Melvin Council now has a hearing date set, November 4th. What a way to start the first college football game day of the year. Potentially hearing about a basketball guy getting eligible. That's an important development. Now we're obviously waiting on this kind of 5-for-5 class action suit from Colorado and how the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals is going to rule on that. And once that comes down, maybe some stuff with Trey White happens. Like, it is just one of those where a lot of dominoes that could fall, and you're kind of just waiting for some legal cases to get figured out. And once that dust settles, then I think you'll see KU make some moves.
What's the timeline on a decision from the Court of Appeals in the what's known as the Wisney versus NCAA class action case, rather, that was filed in Colorado? That's the one regarding players who spent their 4 years of eligibility in 4 years and graduated in 2026 and would have, under the new rules, been given a fifth year to play, and that's their argument that they should be given a fifth year for this year.
Yeah, exactly. When will it? I don't know, actually. It's one of those where I thought actually it might have come down last week. That was just something that initially I had read somewhere from a prognosticator on the legal front. Now it seems like it could be this week. It's one of those where I think due to the timeliness of it, you'd like to think that they're going to get to it somewhat quickly. But yeah, so I don't know. It would not shock me at all if something happens this week. Obviously, we're getting into Tuesday night. You know, now we're talking probably Wednesday at the earliest. And so you'd like to think right this week. But again, I don't know for certain. And as I've learned with some of this stuff, you don't want to go too big on timetables because stuff changes.
Is it as simple as if Melvin Council gets an injunction, if the class action lawsuit in Colorado, if those athletes win or the NCAA loses their appeal and that injunction remains in place, that Melvin Council and Trey White are going to fill out the KU roster? Is it that cut and dried from that perspective?
It seems like it. Now, the one thing that gives me a little bit of reservation with it is just the money side of it, right? You're talking about guys that if this was in the spring, right, you're talking about probably $3 million or more for Trey White, probably $2.5 million for Melvin Council. In terms of if these guys had one more year after this past year and went through a full portal recruitment, that's probably what they would have commanded on the open market in the portal. I don't see a world in which KU can scrap together $5 million for these two players. And I think it could be a situation where, hey, we didn't think this was going to be possible. We're going to get you as much as we can. And due to the fact that they are big names, it's probably a little bit easier to get either donors to pony up or get corporate sponsors to pony up because of the marketing cachet that, a Trey or a Melvin would have. That, hey, we may not be able to get you market rate, but we'll be able to get you more than you would have gotten playing in the G League if you're Melvin Council, or potentially on a two-way contract if you're Trey White. And for those guys, they'll take it because, again, the money they make is more than they'd be getting if they were playing pro basketball, and it gives them another year to develop, potentially have a big role and have some success. So the money thing is still what gives me a little bit of pause, but I think if they can figure that part out, I do think both of them will round out the roster.
Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network, joining us for Jayhawk Weekly here on 580 Sports Talk on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. Let's pivot back to football and Cam Pickett, the wide receiver who's expected to be KU's wide receiver number 1 this season, has not been practicing recently, at least not in the portions of practice that have been open to the media. How much of a concern is that for that wide receiver group if Pickett is hindered and might not be ready for the start of the season? What's the concern level that he might not be ready, I guess?
Yeah, I'm not super concerned about missing any sort of significant time. But still one of those where you're looking at the wide receiver room and you're counting on Cam Pickett to be kind of your number 1 or number 2 wide receiver for this fall. And he's a guy that's gotten a lot of reps with both Cole Ballard and Isaiah Marshall. So it's very notable that he didn't see him at practice yesterday, and then didn't see him the 2 prior days that we were able to go in. So it definitely has my attention, a little concerned, to say the least. Just that, again, a guy that's that important, missing practice. If you remember last year, he had an injury too, and that really did impact him and limit him. So you want him to be as healthy as possible, and that's going to be the biggest key, I think, going into this season. Whether it's Cam, whether it's Austin Alexander, any one of these guys who's either been banged up at camp or went into camp banged up, you need these guys to get healthy, because the important games come thick and fast. This isn't last year when it's Fresno State, Wagner, and in Missouri, where you got kind of a month from the end of camp until your first real game. You got 2 weeks until your first real game, and then you got to go to London. And that's a huge importance to be able to be healthy at the start of the season, make sure you get off on the right foot.
There are 6 teams nationally who had multiple running backs named to the Doak Walker Award preseason watch list, which came out today. And Kansas was one of those 6. Dylan Edwards, of course, the K-State transfer, and Yassine Willis, the Syracuse transfer. Haven't talked about Willis much this offseason going into this season. Part of that is because Edwards is such a big name in this state for so many reasons, such a flashpoint of discussion, such an exciting talent that it's easy to understand why he kind of has the oxygen as far as discussion of the running back room. But what is Yassine Willis going to bring to this team, and how big is his role in this KU offense?
Yeah, I think he's going to be a real big addition for KU. It's one of those, you look back last year, right? And Daniel and LeSean both really struggled to stay healthy through periods of the season. And I don't think you really ever saw either of them playing at their full potential. I think when you get Yassine at his best, he offers you maybe a little bit of what Daniel brought in terms of the physicality, but probably a little bit more athletic pop in terms of just top-end speed and the ability to be consistently available. So you look back at his time at Syracuse, and he was actually a more efficient runner between the tackles than he was outside of the tackles. Think about that, right? That kind of is counterintuitive, because you think, okay, running back in space equals better chance to make a guy miss more yardage. Well, last year, that wasn't the case with Yassine. That's how physical he is as a runner. And I think if he had stayed healthy at Syracuse, his numbers would have looked a lot better. He got a little bit banged up, and then obviously Syracuse had a quarterback injury where then teams really honed in on the run game, and so that didn't help Yassine at all. So for him, I think he's going to be a real big player, and it sounds like he's had a really good camp. And you need someone to be a bell cow back, and I know they like the depth of that room. Jalen Dupree has come along, Colorado State transfer. A true freshman, Corey Amakri, is back healthy. Those 2 guys are going to provide good depth, but you're not expecting Dylan Edwards to be a guy that's going to get 15 carries a game or even double-digit carries a game, right? He's kind of been a 10-touch per game guy in his college career. I think that's probably the target for him this year. So you need guys that are able to go carry the rock, and I think Yassine is going to offer that ability, and I'm really excited to see what he looks like this year.
Is there a player who, maybe not, the question is not who's the camp MVP, because that's obviously a pretty hard question to answer because it is just camp after all. But is there a player who keeps coming up in conversations or in press conferences as somebody who seems to be making a real important leap forward for this Kansas team at this stage in fall camp?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily highlight one player. I think there are a couple themes you can pick up on, right? I think there are some younger players in the program who are pushing for playing time and kind of solidifying the depth, right? This is going to be a long season. You're talking about 12 games over 13 weeks with a trip to London, 9 straight games to end the year. You need depth. And Lance Leipold's talked about this, that he likes the depth, but you needed guys to step up. And so where I look is how that's been solidified in camp. And you've got a guy like Garrett Martin at defensive end who stepped up and can be kind of your fifth guy there. And you may roll your eyes at, fifth defensive end, what does that mean? Well, last year, Dak Brinkley was the fifth defensive end, and he played about 15 snaps a game. Like, that's pretty critical. So I think that, that's a big development. I look outside at defensive back, and I think that's kind of the area where you want to see some guys step up now that the guys are getting healthy. I think Corey Gordon's going to offer a lot. I think he's shown flashes in camp. I think Taylor Davis is taking a step forward. But I think when you look at this team, it doesn't sound like I think there's been one guy, right? You mentioned MVP, who's been, head and shoulders above the rest. I think there's been a collective kind of push from some of the younger players in the program to kind of push to solidify the depth. Maybe at the back end of the two deep, I think you've seen some starters put together good camps. I think Calvin Clements and Nick Moreau at offensive tackle have had a good training camp. I think you look at Leroy Harris, right? They're really trying to get him to be a consistent player because everyone's seen the flashes, and the question now is, hey, can you go do it consistently on Saturdays? But I think across the board, right, you've seen some of the better players, right, the guys you're expecting to start, they've met the call, so to speak. And now I think it's a question of how do some of those swing spots, safety, quarterback, how are those guys going to perform? And that we're not going to know that until the games start. And that's one of the bummers of campus, right? We can talk all about it, but what really matters is game day, and it's going to be a believe it when you see it deal with, I think, safety, quarterback, and maybe even linebacker.
We're joined by Michael Swain of Fog.net and 24/7 Sports. And Michael, back over to basketball for a minute. Last week after we had you on, I believe it was maybe Thursday, I think it came out, that five-star wing and commit for next year, Javon Bardwell, had decommitted from KU and is reclassing to be able to be eligible and play in this upcoming year. Did this all come down to the new NCAA eligibility rule and his age?
Yeah, I think a little bit. I think there are multiple pieces to this, right? So yes, one part is the fact that he needs to enroll in college. Like, there's a very small list of players who are impacted by this 5-for-5 rule. There are not a lot of 19-year-olds going into their senior year of high school. Javon is one of them. And so he gets kind of the short end of the stick here, where if he stuck around in high school for this upcoming year, like the plan was, well, he loses a season of college eligibility. And you may say, Michael, he's a 5-star. He's not going to stay in college for 5 years. And I would respond and say, look at Mark Mitchell, McDonald's All-American, 5-star, college for 5 years, or I guess 4 years technically. Could be 5, depending on how his ruling goes. So you can say that, but every year of earning potential for the guys these days is such a big deal, especially with how much money upperclassmen make compared to G League deals. So losing a year of financial power for Javon is not a smart decision. Now, the question is, could it have worked at Kansas? I would say if Melvin Council and or Trey White were not an option, I think there's a way they could have made it work. Now, the issue you run into is that they probably had a deal negotiated for a certain number for Javon to be a class of 2027 recruit. I don't know if the money is available for that deal to be pushed forward to this year, right? Budget and all that stuff, right? You're going to budget certain amounts for certain guys. And so I think there's someone out there that could give Javon a lot more than KU would have. And I think that he can go find somewhere. LSU has half a team. There are probably some teams out there that may look at Javon if some of these 5-for-5 guys either don't get eligible or they decide to take paydays elsewhere. Like, there's going to be some schools that are willing to pay him, and he will have a bigger role at that school. And look, every contract is a 1-year contract. He could go in the portal next spring. He could go back to Kansas. He could go anywhere. So it's one of those for him. It's about getting on a college campus this year, and it was too complicated. I think KU had its eyes on players that would make an immediate impact, and Melvin Council and Trey White are two of those guys.
Michael Swain covers the Kansas Jayhawks for Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. Now's a great time to become a VIP subscriber over there. Michael joins us every Tuesday at this time for Jayhawk Weekly. Michael, always a pleasure. We'll do it again next week.
Awesome. Sounds great. Talk to you guys next week.
That is Michael Swain. We'll take a break, come back, wrap up this 4 o'clock hour next.
You want some violence? I'll show you some violence.
Catch every second of Chiefs football right here.
The war's coming.
580 WIBW and FM 104.9.
.456 on 580 Sports Talk, bringing hour number 2 of the program to a close. Quick random question Tuesday. Spencer, have you got a random question for us today?
Yes. What is your favorite type of chicken wing? Since we're on the topic of our wing challenge next
favorite
week.
sauce?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm good old fashioned buffalo is good with me, man. Like I really do. Like a not the hottest you've got, but not also like the mild. I'll do like a medium buffalo. I'm pretty good on that.
Yeah, I
garlic
love me some
parm.
garlic. Yes, garlic parm's my go-to.
Yeah, garlic parm if I'm feeling like something different.
Ranch or blue cheese?
See, I like blue cheese.
Ooh,
I like blue cheese
ranch
with
is the way to
buffalo.
go.
Ranch. I'm not anti-ranch. I think buffalo and blue cheese go well. I think that's a good pairing.
Blue cheese is just moldy cheese sauce.
Tastes good, man. I
I
don't
don't know
know.
about
Raisins or moldy grapes. What do you want? That's how food works sometimes. what are you gonna do? Flats or drums?
Drums.
Really?
Yeah.
I go all flats. I'm all day all flats.
Well, I like the meat in the drums, but if the flats, man, I could go.
Yeah, flats. They go in, they come out, they come out clean.
But I like the more meat on the drums for the most part.
Fair enough. Coming up in the 5 o'clock hour, we got headlines. We'll talk a little Royals baseball, and Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Chiefs, will join us at 5:25 for yet another training camp report brought to us by Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. Hang with us. We got one more hour to go here on this edition of 580 Sports Talk.
Lucero and Spencer Dupuis talking sports in Topeka. This is 580 Sports Talk.
Let's get it. Final hour of this Tuesday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis with you here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9. Online at 580WIBW.com. on your mobile device, on the MSC Radio app, and on YouTube on our 580 Sports Talk channel. One more hour at 6 o'clock. We'll turn things over to the Royals Radio Network. Game 2 of 4 between the Royals and the A's tonight at the K. Royals won the opener last night, 9-5. Big night for the offense. We'll talk about that a little bit because the offense looked like the Royals planned for the offense to look this season. Not just scoring 9 runs a game. Boy, if you could plan for that, that'd be real nice. But just the names and on the lineup card that Matt Quatrero got to write in were the names he's been wanting to write in some order all year long. And finally got to do that against a lousy A's team, and a 9-run outburst with 13 hits was the result.
The leadoff hitter's interesting.
We'll talk about that in a little while. That's, again, Royals baseball coming up. 6:40 first pitch, 6 o'clock pregame right here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. Also coming up on the show this final hour, Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs. It's another training camp report with Mitch. Those brought to us by Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. Mitch will join us today as we continue our week of looking at players for whom the Chiefs aren't necessarily reliant on breakouts from, but if the Chiefs should get breakout performances from these players, it would be a big help towards helping them regain their status at the top of the football world. Tyquan Thornton is the subject today. Made a really good start to last season and then kind of disappeared from the stat sheet, and then he got hurt. And that's kind of been the story of Tyquan Thornton's entire NFL career to date. But he's still just 25 years old, though he'll turn 26 before the season opener. Could his 5th NFL season be the one where he finally shows off the potential that made him a second-round pick of the Patriots back in 2022? We'll talk about that with Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Chiefs, coming up in about 17 minutes or so. Still got headlines to get to as well. Your text, 785-272-9429 is the number. 785-272-9429. Can also interact with us in the live chat on our YouTube stream. If you're watching us live, we're live every day on our YouTube channel. Name of the channel is 580 Sports Talk. Go slam that subscribe button or just click it. You don't have to actually slam it, though we love the enthusiasm. Just a little tap of your screen or a click of the mouse, and you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. And that makes you part of a club that is over 1,000 strong, and that will get to see us eat hot wings next Wednesday